Man, a lot has happened in the last week. We got definitely a few things to get into. I'm going to let you know what I've learned, what I'm observing, what's happening here, what I'm comprehending, my point of view here. Man, the sports world is never a dull moment. It's never boring. That's part of the reason why I love sports so much. It's just something in some shape or fashion always fascinating, right? Right. All right, so your boy JGoodWithSports here. As we get towards the end of September, this year has flown by. Before I know it, it's going to be New Year's Eve, and then it's going to be 2024. But anyway, before we get into any of that, all right, first topic of news, I guess, is my bad news Bears, Chicago Bears, whatever you want to call them these days. They deserve a lot of different adjectives that you throw their way. All right, so Bears end up losing 41-10. It was a debacle in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes was doing his thing. All three of the running backs, I believe, found the end zone between Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jared McKinnon. But that's not even the biggest news. The biggest news was Taylor Swift showing up to the game because Travis Kelce extended an invite. And the fact that she showed up, at that point, you should have known that it was going to be bad. And then also on top of that, you should have known that Travis Kelce was going to find the end zone. That should have been an automatic assumption right there. So yeah, Kansas City definitely did their thing. Justin Fields, he's looking worse and worse by the game. And this is the ultimate year that he needs to perform. The Bears have to make a decision if they're going to, approve his fifth-year option. This is his third season. They have to make the decision in the offseason. At this trajectory, they're definitely going to decline it. They are going to probably take a quarterback in the draft, which is probably going to end up being Caleb Williams, the Heisman favorite out of USC that everybody is, dazzling and got their marble eyes on. The Bears, at this point, has 2 top 5 picks. We'll get into more of that in a second. But Justin Fields right now is not doing himself any favors. Now, I've been on record of saying for months on various platforms that majority of it isn't on Justin Fields. But I'm going to start saying that the more and more that I watch, and if this continues, then, yeah, some of the blame, if not half of the blame, is going to end up being on him. Because, yes, there are times, if you watch the game and, see it in real time, there are times to where he is hesitating when he shouldn't be. There are times where he thinks he has a bigger clock in his head as opposed to reality. And that's not the case, especially if your offensive line isn't adequate, that is banged up, that the starting left tackle is out for 4 games on IR, which may or may not be saying much, but still, when you have that going on, when you just make comments about you being robotic and you overthinking because it's too much information, and the first words that come out of your mouth for the reasons why you're playing this way is coaching, I mean, it's just all bad. So something got to give there. Matt Eberflus, you're on the hot seat, my brother. I'll put it to you this way. And I'm going to create a poll today. I was going to do it yesterday. I'm going to do it today. And I credit, ESPN 1000 for this poll because it was, they pretty much beat me to it. But basically, since Lovie Smith was let go in 2012, the Bears have 4 head coaches. I just need to know which one has been the worst. Mark Trestman, John Fox, Matt Nagy, Matt Eberflus. That's what I need to know. Which one is the worst coach since Lovie Smith? Since they ultimately decided that Lovie Smith was no longer, a competent coach for the Chicago Bears and we needed to move in a different direction. But The Bears have only had one winning season since Lovie Smith has gone. And let alone, 0 playoff wins in that matter too. So yeah, it's been a debacle. But yeah, Matt Eberflus, I mean, to this point, only has 3 wins as a head coach. Yeah, something has to, give fast. You would think some adjustments would be made, putting these players in the right position to succeed. You an offensive coordinator who has never called plays until he came to Chicago. I mean, you hired him, Eberflus. You did. We know the defensive coordinator, he had to resign, pretty unexpected. As more details to come with that, there's rumors of his house getting raided and Hallis Hall getting raided by Peanut Tillman and FBI. And now there's, some other, HR, I guess, type issues going on here. Who knows? But nevertheless, you're without a defensive coordinator, so you're stuck calling plays. Defense is something where, should be your strong suit, as you was the former defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts. But yet, our Bears can't even stop a stop sign. At all. They can't even park a car. So what are we doing here? Something got to give. I know Kevin Warren, the new president, he's probably seen enough. Like, he's sitting here like, none of these are my guys. Like, I'm just waiting on the right time to clean house. And he's probably seriously thinking this. And he probably has the power to do so. Because I know the McCaskies is as bad it has been for a very long time. I'm pretty sure they're probably fed up and probably embarrassed and probably sick and tired of hearing fans calling in talking about they should sell the team like every day, maybe twice a day. It's been that bad for a long time. In my opinion, yes, they should probably sell the team. They should. Because if winning was really a priority to you, we wouldn't even be in this predicament as long as we have been. There's no way that one of the longest standing franchises in the history of the sport cannot get the quarterback position right at all. At all. So yeah, something has to give. It's an embarrassment when you have, national coverage talks about how dysfunctional the Chicago Bears is, how they're ruining Justin Fields, how the Chicago Bears just suck in general. And then, some people call in fearful Bears fans saying that, Jets fans get a lot of credit, this and that, but, hanging there Bears fans, you don't get enough credit here, blah, 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 blah. It's bad. It is completely terrible. And yeah, something has to give. So, and then the last thing I'll say, Ryan Poles, I feel like for the most part he's done a good job. I know some things have not panned out, like the Chase Claypool trade, but I don't fully blame him for that, because had Chase Claypool get traded to the Packers, like there was rumors that he was about to get ready to get shipped to the Packers, and Poles stepped in and said, you know what, we'll roll the dice. You'll take a second. We'll give him a try. Because I feel like had he went to the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, I feel like he would have been sensational. He just happened to come here with a dysfunctional franchise, and you just don't perform well. Ask DJ Moore how that's happening right now. So yeah, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating around here. So that's definitely the first thing I learned. Second thing I learned is, as bad as the Bears lost on Sunday in embarrassment in Kansas City 41-10, the Broncos said, hold my beer, we're going to do it worse. I have never, ever in my existence, with my own 2 eyes, seen an NFL team give up 70 points in a game. Now, we've seen it in college plenty of times. High school, of course. Especially when a powerhouse team goes against like one of the first teams on the schedule, like just a warm-up game. They actually pay the school or pay the team to come in, for us to, get prepared for our real schedule here and just beat the brakes off of you. Yes, I've seen that, but not when this is supposed to be the 1% of the 1%. This is the top tier athletes in the world in this sport. And you give up 10 touchdowns, 35 in each half. 35 in each half. So yeah, the Broncos took their talents to South Beach, found out they were talentless, found out Sean Payton was a joke, and Mike McDaniels and the Dolphins ran up the scoreboard. It was one point in time to where it was towards the end of the first half. I want to say the score was, it was like 28 to, at the time, either 28 to 10 or 28-13, something like that. And it was fourth down in the red zone. It was fourth down. I'm thinking like, okay, they just going to kick the field goal and make it 31 with, a few seconds left in the first half. I'm like, fine. No, they went for it on fourth down and scored a touchdown. At that point, I knew something had to be a little bit more extra than what is happening here. So what I found out was, this may or may not be true, but I'm going to go on a limb and say it's more true than it's not true. That Mike McDaniels used to be the ball boy for the Broncos. He grew up in Colorado, Denver, whatever you want to call it, as a Broncos fan. And when he had the opportunity, the same year that he became the coach of the Dolphins, I'm pretty sure he definitely wanted to be the coach of the Broncos. Definitely sure that's what he wanted to do. They didn't even grant him an interview. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going over here to Miami, so I'm pretty sure he had this game circled on the calendar. Just based on what I just told you about them going for it on fourth down and punching in another touchdown, and then they ran another 5 touchdowns in the second half. They dropped 10 touchdowns on a professional team. So yeah, the Broncos are very bad. That's an abysmal. And you can't blame this one on Russ, because Russ didn't even look bad. You better blame it on that defense. And Sean Payton and everybody else. Because that is definitely more of a combination of a lack of effort and execution. That's an embarrassment. Sean Payton, 3 weeks into his career with the Broncos, 0-3, and is already on the hot seat. Don't pin that one on Russ. He didn't look bad. Him and Cortland Sutton came to play. I can't talk about everybody else, even though Cortland Sutton fumbled the ball. Ooh-wee. Yeah, so I believe that was personal. I believe that was really personal for Mike McDaniels and that team to do that. And what's wild, the Broncos play the Bears this upcoming week. And what makes it even more wild, even though they lost by 50, Vegas says they still a favorite on the road to come to Chicago and beat the Bears. That's how terrible my Bears are. The fact that a team from the previous week lost by 50 points and gave us 70 are still favorites as a road team the following week in Chicago to beat my Bears. That's where we're at with that. Let that sink in. Bad news, Bears. Sorry, Broncos. Somebody said, well, somebody got to win the game. Technically, no, they don't. They can tie. They can legitimately tie, and this discussion will get worse. It would. So there's 4 teams that's still without a win. Broncos are the only team in the AFC. 2 teams in NFC North, the Bears and the Vikings. That's a whole nother story. And if I'm the New York Jets, I'm giving a phone call to Kirk Cousins like, hey, We have quarterback issues of our own. You're not going to extend Kirk Cousins. And of course Aaron Rodgers is on IR. Can we rent Mr. Cousins? Go for it. That's what they should be doing. And then the other team is the team that the Bears need to continue to losing because they have their draft pick in the Carolina Panthers. So we got 4 teams that are 0-4. Bears own their own draft pick in the Panthers. So right now, the Chicago Bears have 2 top 4 picks right now in this upcoming draft. So something has to give quickly, expeditiously, in the famous words of Principal Joe Clark. If you know, you know. All right. So Colorado, even though they lost and got beat down 42-6, I believe. Nevertheless, you have to keep in mind that, for one, Colorado's missing their best player, Travis Hunter, to a very unfortunate circumstance that should never have happened the previous week against Colorado State in that hit. But nevertheless, that happened. But even still, if Travis Hunter played, pretty sure they still would have lost. But, maybe it would have been a little bit more competitive for what it was, per se. Also, of course, the head coach of the Ducks, the Oregon Ducks, I'm pretty sure at this point you probably heard what he said at halftime or pregame, per se. Talking about, we're playing for wins, they're playing for clicks. This game isn't played in Hollywood, it's played right here on grass. Just hyping his team up, throwing Coach Prime under the bus, this, and that. Look, I get it. You're trying to match the energy here because at this point, Coach Prime is college football. Deion Sanders is college football. He is this generation's Nick Saban. At the point that where he's setting the bar, even though his team is not there yet, but trust me, they will be there. And Coach Prime basically said, if you're going to get me, you're going to get me now. You better get me now, because this is the worst that we're going to play. And I believe that. I do. So it was more so a reality check for some people. Colorado won 1 game last year. Colorado has 80-something new players this year. Colorado has already won 3 games this year. Colorado needs to win 3 more to be bowl eligible. Colorado plays in a tough Pac-12 conference, which there's plenty of teams that are ranked. So Oregon was ranked number 10. They went to Oregon. I didn't expect them to win. Oregon's coach also said, the Cinderella story is over. But it's not really like that. But once again, credit to him for, trying to match the energy there. But nevertheless, Colorado, within its program, is still a couple years away. They're probably going to have the number 1 recruiting class when it's all said and done this winter, by far. Because he set himself up in that school to be a powerhouse here pretty soon. Between, the high school seniors, between JUCO, between the transfer portal, it's about to go down. It is. So they got USC this week, which I can't wait. Even though I don't expect them to win that game either. But you got Shedeur Sanders, you got Caleb Williams. It's going to be one of the most watched, televised college sports games, specifically college football, probably this whole year. Outside the national championship, it's going to be up there. I cannot wait. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the schedule in front of me. I know they also got UCLA on that schedule. They also have Oregon State. I want to say Washington. I know Utah, who's been the cream of the crop in the Pac-12. I think that's the last game of the season. So they have some tough opponents as well, outside of what we just saw so far. And so it's definitely, like I said, they got to get the 6 wins to be bowl eligible. If they can get a bowl game, I would deem this year a success. From a program that was a laughing stock last year to already tripling their win total before the end of September, that is pretty darn good. So yeah, they already on a good trajectory, a good path. They just got to finish it. So just be competitive. USC defense is not good. Oregon's defense, in my opinion, is a little bit better. But USC's offense is definitely explosive. We're going to see. I can't wait for that. All right. So a couple more things and we're going to wrap up. Can you believe it? The NBA's training camp is next week. And the elephant in the room is Damian Lillard. It's about that time for Dame. And Dame time to be, somewhere else. I know he wants to be in South Beach, but not sure that's happening. But if you don't know, the Toronto Raptors looks like they're in the driver's seat to try to acquire Damian Lillard. So you got Toronto, who's not afraid to pull the trigger and risk it. I mean, they did the same thing with Kawhi Leonard, and, that actually panned out for him, but I believe that team was more ready-made to win a championship than this one here. Because pretty sure what you have to give up to give Damian Lillard may not make sense if that, if you get what I'm saying. I don't think, based on the roster, I don't think it's worth it, but who am I to tell, Toronto what they can and can't do? Maybe it might be a good thing for the 6. Who knows? But yeah, so Toronto's in the equation, Miami's in the equation. And this is one of those, I believe it when I see it, but I'm hearing Chicago is in the equation. And if Chicago's in the equation, that means pretty sure Zach LaVine will be a part of that deal. And at this point, fine. Because at times Zach LaVine can be a walking bucket anytime he wants to. Then at other times, he doesn't seem interested or does not have the ability to be a walking bucket like we think he does each and every game. So yeah, at this point, Zach LaVine, I appreciate your services, but you can bounce. Because I felt that way at the deadline. I felt that way in the offseason. But, our general manager and, president, they feel otherwise right now. Look, there's 3 very dysfunctional franchises in Chicago between the Bears, the White Sox, and the Bulls. 2 of them have the same owner in Jerry Reinsdorf, and that is the White Sox and the Bulls. Just like the McCaskies, I kind of wish he just sells the franchise because I feel like they just don't have the know-how or don't care that their teams are terrible as long as money comes in. And that's a whole other story for another day. Which more so, that's blame on the fans for continuing to show up. But nevertheless, I mean, I'm not holding my breath as a Bulls fan for Damian Lillard. Would I love to see him here? Of course. If I'm going to give somebody a $200 million contract, yeah, I prefer it to be Damian Lillard as opposed to Zach LaVine any day of the week. Who wouldn't? But I don't have confidence in the Bulls brass to pull that off, so we'll see. But I just know something should shake in reality about Damian Lillard being moved, because normally you want them moved by training camp so they're not a distraction to the team. You drafted his replacement in Scoot Henderson, so I feel like there's no point of both of them being there. You clearly, by your actions showed that Damian Lillard, what we're trying to do here. So yeah, something has to give. So be on the lookout for that. And then the last thing here is a Jabari Parker quote. Yes, Jabari Parker. We haven't heard that name in so long. Him and Andrew Wiggins came out in the same draft class. I want to say that was 2014. There was a lot of hype behind those two players. And I thought Jabari Parker would have had a better career, but I was mistaken. But anyway, he said something that was very telling. So Jabari been out the NBA for a couple years now, and he's overseas with Barcelona. So he said it was by his choice. He said, this is what he said. I'm going to quote this. And this is on Jabari Parker on why he chose to play in Barcelona and how the NBA is declining. Quote, I just want to be part of something legitimate. Every game matters. NBA is a business, and there are 10 to 12 teams that try to win every game, and the other half try to get a draft pick. No excuse to see Dwight Howard, DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall not have a job. We are seeing the league getting watered down, unquote. He is 100% right. Dwight Howard just had a couple of workouts with the Warriors in the past couple of years. Weeks, not years, weeks. And I heard they opted not to sign him. And I'm sitting here scratching my head like, why wouldn't you sign him? First off, you need somebody like Dwight Howard because you don't have any height. You cannot continue to start Draymond Green at the 5. You can't do it. You got bullied down there against the Lakers in the conference semifinals last postseason. And so your solution is to run it back with the same squad and not make any adjustments. And Dwight Howard can still play in this league. So can DeMarcus Cousins. So can John Wall. So yeah, Jabari Parker is 100% right with that. Now the only thing I would question is his reason for choosing Barcelona. Because I feel like had an NBA team was calling you, you would actually be in the NBA instead of playing overseas. But the gist of what he's saying, he is absolutely correct. Because there's plenty of vets out here that can still play. They're choosing not to sign them. I don't get it. It is getting watered down. There's some legitimate hoopers out here, but based on how the NBA caters to these younger people and potential is more valuable than the actual current, production these days. It is pretty bad. So I honestly don't know what's going to happen here in the next 5 years in regards to that. Because if it gets worse and worse, then you're going to get to the point where people may not want to watch it. You're going to have to figure it out. I mean, that's why they're doing this in-season tournament here. They're trying to be more innovative, and I get that, and I respect that, Adam Silver. But I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think the in-season tournament is the solution to what's going on here. It's just more so the content. We want to see real hoopers play meaningful basketball. And it's not really showing these days. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. But continue to rock with your boy, right here on the JGoodWithSports podcast. Catch me this weekend once again, Saturday. We got the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast with my bros Brandon and Ian, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, live on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. On Sunday, we got the Fantasy Football Destination Fantasy podcast with my bros Deshaun and Ian, 7:15 Central Standard Time. We are live, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We are answering lineup questions. We had a plethora of them last week. We continue to get a lot of them. We will actually answer your questions, unlike these bigger podcasts. But anyway, I appreciate you. Until next time, you all have a blessed one. Peace.